crisis in Iran. President Trump announcing today that no one was hurt when Iran launched more than 24 missiles at military bases in Iraq. Iran says the attack was in retaliation for the U.S. drone strike that killed its top military leader.
It now appears both sides are trying to de-escalate the crisis. Alice Barr has late-breaking developments now from Capitol Hill.
Sue and Brian, President Trump is crediting an early warning system that allowed American and Iraqi troops to get to safety, while some analysts speculate Iran may have intentionally avoided doing serious harm to keep from plunging into a wider conflict. Today, a step back from the brink with the news no Americans were hurt in Iran's missile strikes on Iraqi bases housing U.S. forces. President Trump is playing down the attacks.
Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world.
The president's previous tough talk of military action shifting to a vow for punishing new economic sanctions that will remain.
Until Iran changes its behavior.
While saying he wants peace, the president began his statement with these words.
Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
And just hours after Iran's supreme leader called the missile strikes a slap in the face for the killing of its top general, the president again defended his decision to take out Qasem Soleimani.
We took decisive action to stop a ruthless terrorist from threatening American lives.
Top administration officials briefing lawmakers today on the intelligence behind the drone strike on Soleimani. The two parties coming away with vastly different impressions.
Not only did the president make the right call, but that this was a clear and present danger.
Utterly unpersuaded about any evidence about the imminence of a threat that was new or compelling.
Democrats criticizing the president for lighting a fuse.
Though he's trying to pretend as if he's the firefighter.
And even with hostilities seemingly on pause today, military analysts are warning the threat from Iran is far from over. Military and diplomatic outposts in the region are still on high alert. And with Iran's supreme leader saying today that military action is not enough, cyber attacks remain a real threat. In Washington, Alice Barr, News 8.
We reached out to our local lawmakers in Washington to get their take on what has transpired in the last 24 hours in the Middle East.
News 8 political reporter Rick Albin's here with what they had to say. Rick.
As you can imagine, it's been a really busy day on Capitol Hill. Some lawmakers receiving briefings on last night's missile attacks, even while the president was addressing the nation. Congressman John Molinar, who represents Montcalm and Mecosta counties and much of the central part of the state, said he was thankful no American military personnel were hurt and agreed with the president's actions.
I'm glad that the president has spoken out and further sanctions will be in order. And, I support the taking out Soleimani. I think he was a known terrorist and someone who was plotting additional harm to Americans.
Lakeshore Congressman Bill Huizenga says he hopes the situation is diffused to avoid more potential engagement.
I don't think anybody wants war. I don't think this president does. I don't believe any of us in Congress do. And I hope and pray that's the same with the Iranian leadership as well. That is a bad situation, and I'm glad to see that it seems to have some cooler heads prevailing.
Former Republican, now independent Congressman Justin Amash expressed his thoughts in tweet form, saying, quote, "Direct, firm, and peaceful engagement with Iran is more likely to bring about positive change than our further sanctions and warfare." And Democratic U.S. Senator Gary Peters said, quote, "I'm relieved that no American service members were harmed yesterday. I remain concerned the Trump administration still lacks a comprehensive, effective Iran strategy. It's clear that our service members, diplomats, and fellow Americans in the region are now less safe. I will continue to press for answers regarding the administration's strategic plan and what steps they're taking to protect our service members, personnel, and citizens overseas and here at home." For now, there is hope on the part of many who are familiar with the situation that no further escalation will take place. But that tenuous truce could be shattered at any time, given the volatility of the relationship between the United States and Iran. Susan?